Look at this, you guys. A bright red, soul red metallic, in fact, 2020 Mazda MX-5 with the soft top. This is basically the stripper model. Doesn't have many options, but we'll go over everything and kind of compare it to the other models in the Mazda lineup. So let's go for a drive.
Always waiting for the phone, so I built my towers tall, wandering through these empty halls. Breaking like a man, wasn't coming down. I gotta make it out. Yeah, 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 yeah. Look my fear right in the eye. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel alive.
All right, you guys, we're back in the ND MX-5. We've driven this car so many times now, but still every time I get into the ND MX-5, I am just blown away at what a driver's car this is, and that Mazda just still gets it. They really, as a brand and as a driving experience, they totally still have the formula for the MX-5 nailed. It's just, you know, adapted to modern times with modern technology and a little bit more of a refined experience. So we're gonna give you the rundown on this 2020 MX-5. This is basically the base model. We'll get into all of the specs and all the options and whatnot in this video, but stay tuned and let's go for a rip in the ND. It's always a good time. I love, love, love these cars so much. So, what do we got? Starting with under the hood. You guys know they've got the new 2-liter Skyactiv inline-4 direct injection 16-valve engine under the hood in the MX-5, rear-wheel drive, obviously, because, like I'm saying, this is the MX-5 formula, and it's been around for a number of years, 25 plus years now. So, the formula is much the same, but this new refined engine that actually was in the RF we tested last year in 2019, it's the same engine. It has 181 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. Now that peak power is at 7,000 RPM and that peak torque is at 4,000 RPM with a red line of 7,500 RPM. So you've still got 500 RPMs after your peak power to still really rev it out and bang it off that rev limiter. But peak torque is still lower down around 4,000 RPM, which makes it just a blast to drive. On paper, every other modern sports car enthusiast, you know, you might be looking at an E46 M3 or like a new M3 or some other European car that's brand new. And you're thinking, wow, like those cars had 300 plus horsepower back in the day, and now this is 181. Why would I spend $35,000 on 181 horsepower? And I think overall, I think the MX-5 is a pretty easy sell for most buyers, but I think that right there, that sentence alone, you're paying $35,000 Canadian for 181 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. That right there, I believe, is Mazda's biggest hurdle in selling this car. Not that they have a problem selling the MX-5 and getting sales, but I think if there was one hurdle that's keeping them, keeping people from entering this very kind of niche bubble that the MX-5 serves in the market. Other than that, I think the car's great, and I think Mazda has no problem continuing with the MX-5's formula, and they will probably continue to do so for years and years to come. It never fails to impress how fun these cars are to drive. They're just so happy-go-lucky, kind of, you know, they're chill, relaxed cars. They're extremely forgiving, and this base model ND is absolutely no different. The chassis is the same as the RF. It's the same as the 124 Abarth Spider from Fiat. It's the same vehicle. The MX-5 definitely has a very different interior, and with the base model, over here compared to the GT and the RF as well, which we'll get into kind of the pricing and the specs in just 1 minute. But little things on the interior here that you can see, just like as in the Abarth, the sun visor here is just this flimsy plastic. It's never open that if you own one of these cars. It just really kind of ruins the premium experience, because as far as entry-level Japanese cars go, Mazda has the premium kind of feel of that kind of marketplace, that segment in the market. They've got that nailed. Every time I get into even a base model Mazda, they have a baseline that is higher than most other Japanese manufacturers, which I really appreciate. So even though this is a base model, you still get the leather steering wheel, and while you don't get the leather seats, you get, you still get the main feeling of the MX-5, and this is my point. Like, there is an argument for this base model, but let's step outside the car, we'll go over some of the pricing, and I'll explain to you after driving now the GS, the GSP, the GT, maybe not, but we have driven the RF with a few other of those high performance options on it. So after driving all those, let's get out of the car and let's just go over the pricing and see what MX-5 might fit into your life.
Choose me. Choose me. So I need to choose me. Choose me.
All right, so the ND MX-5, this generation, has been out for a number of years now, and we actually have driven pretty much all of the trim packages of the new MX-5. We've driven soft top, we've driven the RF hard top, and we've driven it with and without the LSD. That is the all-important limited slip differential that is in the back of most ND MX-5s. So this stripper model in front of me at $35,400 Canadian is not equipped with an LSD. It is also not equipped with the Bilstein Sport suspension, which you'll find on the GSP and the GT models, as well as that RF with the hardtop. And you will find a couple of other things on the interior. But the LSD and the suspension are the main two things that this car just doesn't have. So you're wondering, what does it take to get to that next level? You just have to get the GSP, which is, I think, an extra $4 grand. So you're paying a little bit of a premium, but then you are actually enabling yourself to option a few other things like the leather and the nav, which comes standard on the GSP as well. But for $4 grand, I think it's a really good package to step up. For me, I just look at it as like, Mazda designed this car to be a second vehicle. And I think for most people, the MX-5 is your second vehicle. So if you have a reliable, comfortable daily driver that has navigation and a wireless charging pad for your phone, all these great features, then I think this stripper model is something you might want to consider, because it's just, you save all that money up front and you still get most of what the MX-5 experience is. Now, as a final point, looking at the entire model range, so I would say the sweet spot is that GSP model, because immediately you get, as standard, that LSD and the Bilstein suspension, but the interior you can kind of still keep kind of basic. So that's about it. Let's get back into the car and finish up the review. And even in base form, without that limited slip, like I mentioned in the back, it's still so much fun. And I'm sure if you jump in this car and you've never driven an NA or any other generation, you'd still just absolutely fall in love with this car, regardless of what you have or haven't driven in the past. Oh, it's just... It puts a smile on your face, and that is this car's #1 goal, and basically its only goal. And of course, if you really want to step it up, you can get the GSP with the Sport package, which includes Brembo brakes. You can option different wheels with that package, but that's about it. As far as power always stays the same. but you can option those couple key features, including the Recaro seats with Napa leather as well. But as far as a base driving experience, a second vehicle, assuming you already have a comfortable daily, just get the bare minimum and just drive the car for what it is. It's going to depreciate too, so always have to take that into consideration if you're buying new. The MX-5 is one of the last modern vehicles that you can buy brand new in 2020 that truly understands at a fundamental level what the dynamics of driving should be if you're looking for an exciting experience. The shifting feel is so much better than a lot of modern cars nowadays. It's really tuned for the application, and you really notice this when you jump back and forth between the brand new Mazda 3 that came out about a year ago and this car, because the shifting feel is totally different. Going from the manual in the new Mazda 3 to this, it's not just a part spin special. The MX-5 has a very distinct feel through and through, which is what I respect about it. There's enough power where you can still talk while you're going full throttle, but it's never really going to get away from you. Yeah, it's a great engine. I think if Mazda was to put the 2.5 liter, their new turbo engine, would just be mental in this car. That would be ridiculous. But I think overall, Mazda could potentially ruin the MX-5 if it does in the future at some point go turbo. I think that would absolutely ruin the car. I mean, the throttle mapping, the throttle feel, while it's not as mechanical and kind of gritty, I guess, as the original MX-5s, it's just so precise. And with the steering, it's like a computerized version of what that NA was. But even still, it's just so good. And I think a turbo would just interrupt that flow when you're rolling through the gears, and you know what to expect at every given centimeter of throttle input. It really does sing. One thing you don't get with the GS that you do get with the GSP is Mazda's induction sound enhancer. Induction sound enhancer. Now, it's so funny. They basically make it so you hear more of the induction noise in the cabin here on purpose. So it's not like a speaker system like in BMWs where they pump in exhaust noise. No, Mazda does it right. They get motoring. They get motorsport. We want, in an NA application like this, a driving enthusiast wants that induction noise, you know? We want that induction noise. So unfortunately that isn't an option on the GS, but it is an option on the GSP and the GT model. In fact, I think it's standard on those cars. So definitely, I mean, I haven't driven this one back to back with the RF, which has that feature built in. So I couldn't tell you right now if there's much of a difference. I'm sure there is a little difference, but even still, the resonation, like the way this engine resonates and the way it sounds at different points in the rev, while not quite as exciting as some of the 6 cylinders out there, but as far as 4 cylinders go, it's a fine sounding engine, and you're really getting what you pay for here. Really great value with the MX-5. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been the 2020 Mazda MX-5 GS. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can hit me up on Instagram at Untraveled if you want to kind of see some behind the scenes stuff, day-to-day footage, kind of what we're doing on a daily basis, what we're filming, and what you can expect up on the channel pretty soon. Yeah, and then that's basically it. In other news, roadsandtravel.com if you want to hit up our extensive collection of engine code jet tags and carbon fiber tags. We just brought in a bunch of new designs for our carbon fiber tags and some forged carbon fiber options as well. Really exciting. We're stoked on the whole thing. So let me know what you think about the site in the comments below, and the link will be down in the description. So we'll see you guys next time.